Good afternoon, excuse me, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the May 16, 2012 meeting of the Community Redevelopment Agency. We will have Ms. LaMagna review the procedures for tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Agendas are available in the front of the room on the table to my right. All exhibits pertaining to the items on the agenda are posted on the bulletin board. Please feel free to view the exhibits anytime during tonight's meeting. You are required to fill out a blue form. My assistant, Ms. Dyer, is holding them up. You must complete the sections that ask for your name, your address, topic of concern, agenda item number, signature, and date. The form must be completed and placed in the designated box next to Ms. Dyer. You will not be allowed to speak if your form is not placed in the box. There is one additional opportunity for citizens to speak tonight before the Community Redevelopment Agency Board, and that is item number 7. All citizens completing a blue form will be allowed to speak for 2 minutes. When you approach the lectern, please speak clearly into the mic and give your full name and address. The 2-minute clock on the monitor above and directly in front of you will start running when you begin to speak. Please pay attention to your time. You'll be told when your time has expired. All conversation must take place either at the lectern or on the dais so that everyone can hear the business being discussed tonight.
Thank you, Ms. LaMagna. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Woods?
Here.
Commissioner White?
Here.
Commissioner Gilliland?
Here.
Commissioner Henry?
Here.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Commissioner Shelley?
Here.
Mayor Glenn Ritchie?
Here, we'll now have the invocation led by Commissioner Shelley, followed by the pledge led by Commissioner Woods. Please rise for an invocation, please.
Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Daytona Beach tonight. We ask your wisdom and your guidance and your blessing on all we say and do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will now move on to item number 4, approval of the minutes of the May 2nd, 2012 special meeting of the Community Redevelopment Agency Board.
Second.
Commissioner Gilliland's motion, Commissioner Woods, second. Any questions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. Like sign, opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Move on to item number 5, the agenda approval. If there's any changes, the manager read them at this time.
There are no changes, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner Gilliland is the motion. Commissioner Henry is the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. 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 Like sign, opposed. That motion carries 7-0. Move on to administrative items. Ms. LaMagna.
Moving on to item number 6A, it is a Manatee Island Dog Park proposal resolution, a resolution approving the expenditure of tax increment funds from the Downtown Redevelopment Area Trust Fund in the amount of $20,000 for fencing and signage in connection with the establishment of an off-leash dog park on Manatee Island and providing an effective date.
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Woods, the motion. Commissioner Shelley is the second. Any speakers to this?
I do have 2 speakers. First up, we have John Nicholson, and on deck we have Christopher, is it Seema?
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. I know this is a fait accompli, but it's just, I think, in the wrong location. It's almost the exact dimensions of the Butterfly Museum. I don't know if you all remember. The Butterfly Museum would take up the entire center. This takes up the entire area that the Butterfly Museum wanted to take, plus a little bit more. There are 2 other locations, if you're going to do Manatee Island, that you could put it. You could put it at the very northern end past the roadway. It would give them the exact same square footage. It would give them another acre, half of which would be under trees, half of it would be open. Or you could put it directly behind the amphitheater. That section behind the amphitheater would only be about half an acre behind that, but it would give them a pavilion. It would give them open space and space underneath the shade for their dogs. All right? The area that you're doing is all sand. It's all shade. But if you have any other function, by putting that fence, that high fence, when you walk in, it cuts the island completely. What it does is it makes it a dead island for any other things. When we have any kind of activities, if you put that center island with a 6-foot fence or a 5-foot fence, you're cutting the entire island itself in half. All you can use is the donut, the outside area of the island for if you had a jazz festival or whatever. It is cutting the use of the island completely so you can have it just for a couple of dogs. I understand there are a lot of dog lovers. I don't mind that, but you can't sacrifice an entire island just for them. Make an accommodation so it's best for both worlds. Put it either at the northern end and add a little more extra effort to it, or put it in an area where it doesn't cut the island in half. Thank you very much.
And our final speaker is Christopher Sema.
Thank you. My name's Chris Van Sema. I live at 318 Temco Terrace. And as much as I'm for having dog parks in Daytona, I think Manatee Island is not the right place for a dog park. You don't have a built-in dog community. The area, the location that they're talking about putting this is just a little, it's going to be a swampy, muddy pit in the middle of the island. I know you guys want to do something with the island. It's you've thrown an awful lot of money at it, and no one's using it. And getting some dogs out there would at least get some sort of use. But there are a lot of other parks where there's active dog communities already engaged, and I think it's a big waste of taxpayer money to spend it on Manatee Island when you have other communities like Lenox Park, where people meet every day with their dogs. And if you guys if you can't keep the bags refilled at Lenox Park, what are you going to do when it comes to Manatee Island and you have an active dog park? I mean, we have areas all over the city where, we're trying to be responsible dog owners, and you're going to set something up and it's going to fail. And I don't want the other prospective dog parks to fail because Manatee Island, you do the first one in the wrong place. So if you're going to do Manatee Island, fence the whole island, make it a big dog pavilion. If you don't, you either got to increase it or rethink this. Thank you.
That is our final speaker.
Okay, questions, comments, thoughts from the commission, please?
Well, who can answer for me the size of Lenox Park? I know I've heard that brought up. I don't even think it's as large as what you'd have to close off all of Lenox. I was down there recently for another meeting. And then with Tuscaloosa, which was another one that was mentioned as well, you've got the disc. And I mean, I know there's concerns about this only being an acre, that it's not big enough. And I've read the thing that said that too. And even the other proposals that have been brought forward, I don't think they're that large, I guess is my question to staff.
Yeah, in your packet is a report, I believe, from a person who's an expert in dog parks. She actually came and reviewed not only Manatee Island but other sites for possible dog parks, and it's her indication that this location is suitable for a dog park. It's not. There's no standard that is currently that I'm aware of in the dog world, from the best I can tell, that says it's got to be 1 acre, 2 acres, or less, and I think there's a way to probably accommodate dog parks in areas that are currently available in Daytona Beach and its parks, as well as Manatee Island.
I have a question, though, or several questions. Lenox Park is not in a redevelopment area.
No.
So at this point, what we're looking at with Manatee Island, I think that is another of the reasons that came forward. Is that in the South Atlantic?
Is
Yes.
it in?
It goes down that far?
Yes.
Okay, so it is in that
branch.
redevelopment area?
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
thank you. Because I thought it was just on the outside of that redevelopment area. Regarding Manatee Island, I'm really surprised that there's not a group of people here to speak to this, because there has been a large group of people working on this that I thought would be here tonight to speak to this issue. But I have, the $20,000 is for the fencing, correct?
Correct.
It has nothing, is that correct, Mr.
No,
Berger?
it's about 11,000 of that is fencing. Some additional dollars, about 4,000 for a sign, about 5,000 for the concrete work sidewalk to
Correct.
make it ADA
Okay.
accessible.
But nothing for operations
No,
at all?
not at all.
We have no money for operations. I noticed in the, what we got from the Halifax Humane Society, that has been working on this with Mr. Myers, they talk about security being provided by a combination of city police, county sheriff, and animal control. Do we currently have any animal control officers in Daytona Beach?
We have one that I think
Is still here?
I think.
I
so,
thought we
yeah.
had, you think so?
I haven't called them recently.
My understanding was that we have one, so we have not done anything about security for this park. How it will be, I'm reading their proposal, but I don't see anything that.
Well, let me clarify that proposal was something that was just initiated at the beginning.
No, I understand that.
To us, and nothing in that proposal is what we're talking about
I
today.
understand that as
Okay.
well.
Okay. So what I'm saying is today, the police have been doing what they've done all along, is they send out people into the park during the midday, the morning, and also at night. So there's a continual activity with the police and security in there, but they're not there full-time.
Sure.
We do have security and all that in the Riverfront Park area all the time.
Yeah.
And in fact, there's patrols in there. But as far as if the thinking is we have to have security on the island during the time it's being used, no.
No, that's not my thinking. I'm asking about, and I
Okay.
know we're not adopting what the Humane Society brought forward, but I'm just trying to clarify, because another thing they brought forward was how they would work to develop operations, and we don't have any sort of operations. This is really, we're putting together a fenced area. Another thing that was, because the other thing they talk about in here, which I think is, we're not setting up any rules yet. They're talking about that. One of the things that they suggested, which fits in with our mandatory spay-neuter laws, is that any dog that uses this dog park has to be spayed or neutered. We don't have any policy in place to address that either. I mean that's just I'm just making some points. Is the fence removable?
Yes. In other
That was
words,
my understanding. If
temporarily.
it was a special event.
We could. I went out there at the special events and that most recent Oyster Festival, and looked at it and made some adjustments to the plan that you have in your packet, so that there's not an issue. And I worked with the person who was operating that event, and they seemed to think, and that's a fairly large event, that area was not going to be used, at least for the Oyster Festival. And I've been at other events there, and that center does not get used. People go around, they use the perimeter of the island.
Sure.
And of course, that's where you get the views of the water. When you're up on the hill that drains, that's sandy soil, and so it should work just fine.
I mean, I'm not against this, but
Sure.
there's certain things that I'm trying to understand, because we're not doing this what the Humane Society suggested. We're not moving into operations. We're not moving into those sort of things. So there will be anybody can come in and out of the dog park with a dog. There's no requirements that your dog be spayed or neutered. I'm just making that clear. I mean, is there? I'm asking.
The only requirement is the city ordinance requires you to have your dog spayed or neutered.
Correct.
That
But-
is a violation of the city code if somebody's out there without a dog that's licensed and in compliance.
So if we have a police officer out there who happens to be patrolling when people are in the dog park, then they can be cited for those
It
things.
could be.
I mean, it just seems like a nice way to kind of get people in compliance with getting their dogs registered and getting them spayed and neutered.
Commissioner, you make a good point. I think what we should do is encourage people when they come to the park to remind them about the licensing and that, and I'm sure there'll be some people, there are going to be regulars there, and hopefully they can.
It's one of the
do so.
things that was suggested to me by a person in the community who uses a lot of dog parks was a swipe card for the dog park. That you have a person that wants to use the dog park, shows that your dog is registered, that is spayed and neutered. You have a swipe card, so you're allowed to get into the dog park area. And I thought that, and I said, I asked several questions. They said it's been at other dog parks they've gone to. They said that way it keeps out a certain element of dog. I guess I'm not a dog park person, so I don't really know, but I thought that was an interesting concept, and that also maintains not maintains, but it gives a record of who's coming in and out of that area. It's just a suggestion.
That's a very good suggestion. I think what we're trying to do right now is just determine whether or not this is a workable facility in a city park, and particularly on Manatee Island.
Would then it come, if we decide that it is, would this then be something that we would later talk about operations, or a swiping car or system, or maybe not?
I
I'm
mean,
just asking.
Certainly, we can entertain anything. There's nothing that prevents us from doing that.
One
Thank
thing that I think it's important for us not to consider is any kind of partnering agreement with any entity. If we're going to do this, it needs to be done by the city in case we decide later on that we need to change it.
Sure.
We don't need any contractual obligations or partners that are, have any control of the destiny of the park. Volunteers and those types of things, obviously, we're very interested in, but I'm personally not interested in any partnering.
No, I'm not either, but it's been brought to my attention as well that, and these are dog owners that said, this should be something that they have a buy-in into monetarily.
Any contributions, absolutely.
That we should, that's why the swipe card was suggested. It's not a way to keep, and if you're visiting a restaurant or something in the downtown, we can have some sort of visitor card or something like that. But they said, it's a way that, we talk about different user fees, and that way it would be some sort of a self-sustaining fee, either by making sure the dogs are licensed, the mandatory spay neuter, those sort of things. That's all I'm looking for.
Okay, any other comments?
I guess my biggest concern right now the question was about special events and how it would affect special events being that's sitting right in the middle of the park. I think you kind of answered that question. I'm going to go right on record right now. I go to dog parks all the time over in DeLand and over in Sanford, and I'm not for charging people to come to the dog park. I'm going to record right down. I know this is down the road, but I'm just not for charging people to come to the dog park. And I take my dogs all the time to the dog park, or trying to overregulate the dog park.
Well, I think the fee comes from the registration of the dogs. They're supposed to be registered here.
Yeah, mine, they're registered and got licensed, but if I out to a dog park, I don't want to charge anybody to come to the dog park. But if we get to that level, we can discuss that at that point.
Absolutely.
I think this is a good idea. I'm a former dog owner, still a dog lover. I'd like to see it happen. $20,000 is a lot of money. I think that it's an underutilized park. We just talked about the Air Zoom Park as some way to bring some life back in Tuscaloosa. I think this is something similar that we could do at Manatee Island. But I have a little experience in dealing with swipe cards, and now we're talking about $100,000 because you got to build a system, you have the registration, you have. It's a very I'd like to see us kind of move forward today with this, get the park established, and then do some monitoring and see whether or not we think that we're having some issues with people bringing dogs in there that aren't spayed or neutered, people bringing dogs that are not playing well with others. If it's bringing in a there's an unintended consequence, something that we're not seeing tonight. But I would like to see us move forward with this initiative, but along with Commissioner Shelley's comments, I think there may be some opportunities for us to do some other things there that we need to just kind of monitor, watch what's going on, and see whether or not there's some enhancements to the way the park is running. Is it a safe environment? Are we bringing some liability exposure to ourselves that we maybe aren't thinking about right now? So, I'm fine with moving forward, but I do think we want to watch this, make sure that we aren't kind of biting off more than we can chew at this point.
Okay. Comments?
I'm in favor of a dog park, but I would like to see it where we could have the option of drawing back and retreating if it does not work. Just doing this maybe as a pilot, so to speak, and then tweaking where it needs to be tweaked, and then if it doesn't work out, then abandon it.
Okay. Thank you. Sure.
I'm going to steal Commissioner Riddle's pilot word because I think that's kind of what I'm hearing from everyone is it's something that we're trying. It was very grassroots. It did come from the community, and it sounds like the community may want more than one dog park eventually. So I think if we treat it as a pilot, we keep a close eye on it, we look at ways that we can improve it, and I think that's kind of what I'm hearing from everyone. And so I would agree with some of the concerns, but feel confident to go ahead and get started with this.
Good. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All right, we do have a motion and a second. I'll ask all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Like sign opposed. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to item number 7, citizen comments. We have one speaker, John Nicholson.
John Nicholson, 413 North Grandview Avenue. One I forgot to ask, are you going to put in a chain link fence or the metal fence that peels, one of the two? Secondly, are you going to put the fence in front of the sign, so when you walk on the Manatee Island, are you going to put the fence across? There's a sign there that says welcome to Manatee Island and whatnot. Are you going to put the fence across the front of it? Because you did that with Bethune Point. There's a sign there at the skating rink, at the skateboard park. You put the sign in front of, the fence in front of the sign there. So I wouldn't want you to do the same thing twice. Third, the fence that I told you was going to peel on the boardwalk is peeling. I told you it would peel within 5 years. It peeled within 6 months. It's gotten much worse. It's now the entire fence. Worst case scenario, could you just get some paint and dab where it's peeling if you don't want to paint the entire fence? Secondly, could you fix all the uplights that go to the trees? At night, it's getting darker. The uplights are vanishing one by one. I think there's maybe 7 left out of the 30. There's also a possibility of putting a children's park there. I will come back to you with diagrams and whatnot. I think I've already given it to you. Talked to George Burton about use of funds for racing and rec. He said that's what the funds are there for. It would be a great addition. I'm waiting to talk to the gentleman who's the general manager of the Hilton when he finally gets here. And lastly, if we could put some lighting on the boardwalk, maybe on 3 of the 13 poles that we have, so when it's not turtle season, we can face those lights on the beach. Could you be surprised how many kids are on the beach at night playing football and walking and whatnot? I know it's a small area, but it would be great to have lighting on the beach and have use of the beach at night. If they want to walk in a quiet, dark area, they've got 20 other miles to walk. This way there's an area that's lit at night that they can use at night, and people use it until 3. Thank you.
Okay, John. Obviously, this is just the beginning. Sure would behoove us to look at some best practices of dog parks around and hit the road running when we do move forward with this. I'll ask if there's any other comments, city manager, city attorney, any of the commission. We're adjourned. I will let you know that the city commission meeting will start in about 5 minutes. We are required to adjourn and take a break, and then we'll convene the city commission meeting. Thank you.